Well, hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dr. Jockers Functional Nutrition Podcast, where we believe that food is medicine, that your body was created to heal itself. And we're here to arm and equip you with all the resources you need to be your own self-healer. And today we're going to talk a lot about detoxing. We're going to talk about EMFs, 5G, and how to protect yourself from radiation and all the detrimental effects of the hidden silent toxins that we're all being exposed to on a daily basis. And so we've got a detox expert. This is Wendy Myers. She is the founder of MyersDetox.com. She's an expert in detoxification, heavy metals, and minerals. She's a functional diagnostic nutritionist and an NES health bioenergetic practitioner in Los Angeles, California. So Wendy, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we were just talking a little bit about bioenergetics. We were talking about toxicity, and you have a really interesting insight. You've been working with, thousands of people over the years. So can you talk about to the audience really about what toxins are and how they affect human health?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different toxins we're exposed to. I mean, there's heavy metals, there's chemicals. Now you have EMFs added to that whole mix, or electromagnetic fields, which are emitted from wireless internet or computers, satellites now that are being, launched into our environment. And then we also have emotional trauma. There's a lot of different toxins that affect our bodies and act on them and change our metabolism, that inhibit every different metabolic function and organ in our body, and also interfere in our energy production as well. And with dozens of heavy metals being drudged up from the earth to make all these products we have, like my microphone, my computer, they're all made from metals. It's coming from somewhere. And then all the 100,000 chemicals, it's estimated, that are in our environment. There's several thousand more every year that are unleashed into our environment with no testing. And so these all are accumulated in our body from the air, food, and water. And so even if you kind of feel like you eat a really healthy diet, or you live a healthy lifestyle, you drink water, you exercise, you live a clean life, it isn't enough today, because of all the ways, if you look at the research, all the different ways that these toxins act on our body, you have to be actively looking at detoxing your body on a regular basis and adding detox to your health regimen on a daily basis.
Yeah, it is so important. I think it was David Wolf at a conference that we were both speaking at. And he said there are several studies, like how activated charcoal, using that on a regular basis, has been shown to actually extend longevity. And he was saying that proves that detox is more important than nutrition when it comes to overall health. And so what are some of the big toxins? You mentioned heavy metals. I know you do hair mineral analysis. You've also done a lot of bioenergetic testing. What would you say, if you could sum it up, like obviously there's a ton of different toxins, but like the top, 5 or 10 that you're seeing come up consistently, what would you say those are?
Yes, well, mercury is number one. Mercury is super toxic. It actually, when you have mercury, that inhibits your body's ability to detox other metals, because it poisons certain enzymes that are important for detoxification. So mercury is really, really bad. Everyone has mercury. It's impossible to avoid it. There are some people, though, that don't have so many problems with it. Some people have these Olympic livers and these amazing detox genes, and those are the people, not you. But there are people out there that are great detoxers. And usually I think the sicker someone is, they have a dramatically reduced ability to detox, and that's why they're sick. But mercury is number one. Glyphosate, which is an herbicide, horrible. It's really, really bad. It's displacing glycine in your body. It is killing your gut bacteria in your body. We won't get into it. But aluminum is another one. That's something that's ubiquitous in our environment. It's very, very common, and it's in the air. We breathe it in the air. It's an underarm deodorant that people are putting on their body every day. So that one also, that's probably the number one toxic. The next one is cadmium. Cadmium causes more cancers than all of the other metals combined. So that one is really, really problematic. And wherever you find mercury, you usually have cadmium as well. Where does this stuff come from? Coal burning. So when industry and coal is burned for fuel, that get those mercury and cadmium and other metals get released into the air. Then we breathe it in. It settles into the ocean. It gets into the fish, large migratory fish, shellfish. So wherever you're worried about eating mercury in fish, you're also getting cadmium as well. And another really problematic metal is arsenic. Another one that's really, really common in our environment. We're getting that in, chicken, rice, eggs. Their chickens are fed routinely chicken feed that have arsenic because it makes them grow 50% faster. And so chicken farmers around the world, it's routine practice. So you've got to make sure you're getting organic and or pastured eggs and chicken. And then, so just a lot, I can go on and on and on. Cesium is another one that's a problem. Every single client I test has cesium, also thallium. But cesium is the result of nuclear accidents, nuclear testing, Fukushima, Chernobyl, this cesium, it gets into our environment and it poisons your mitochondria and your ability to make energy. So really, it's easy to get out of your body, but just be aware it's probably in your body. Thallium is another one, another very potent mitochondrial poison. It's 10 times more toxic than mercury. This is naturally occurring in petroleum deposits. So guess what? All these cars burning oil and gas, it's unleashing this thallium into the air that we breathe in. Dramatically inhibits our body's ability to produce energy. So it's one of the reasons people are so tired today, can't digest their food, can't think very well. All those things take energy. And so that's why I do what I do and talk about these things, because people are, they're eating these amazing diets, they're taking all these supplements, they're exercising, they're sleeping, they're meditating, they're doing all these things right, and they still feel like crap, like I did at 37 and my prime. And so I went on a journey to try to figure out, why am I doing everything right and I don't feel well? And my hormones, I have the hormone levels of a menopausal woman. And so that's why I created MyersDetox.com, to educate people about what's really going on in their body, poisoning their metabolism, and that they're not getting this information at their doctor's office.
Yeah, it's a really great overview. These toxins are really ubiquitous. They're everywhere, and we're all being exposed to them. And like you talked about, they really affect the mitochondria. And so, we have, I think it's like 10,000 mitochondria per cell in our neurons in our brain. So when you're toxic, you tend to have more neurological type symptoms, fatigue. What else? What are some other big symptoms that people experience if they have poor detox?
Yes. Well, chronic nausea is a common one. Weight gain. I think people don't, because 2/3 of people in the US are overweight, 1/3 are obese. It's not just the food that they're eating. It's chemicals that are estrogenic, that are, imbalancing their hormones, toxins that are overloading and poisoning their liver. And also there's toxins that, poison our pancreas, our body's ability to metabolize blood sugar properly, that cause insulin resistance, that cause diabetes. Dr. Joe Pizzorno, founder of Stereo University, says that diabetes is mainly, number one cause is toxins and heavy metals. It's not just, you're eating too many carbs over the years. There are toxins that are poisoning your ability to also release fat. Arsenic poisons enzymes that transports triglycerides out of fat cells. So even if you're doing all these things to lose weight, your efforts can be thwarted by these toxins and heavy metals. And so there's so many different symptoms also, like people can, all the major chronic diseases, diabetes, hypertension caused by lead and cadmium, heart disease. Cadmium hardens the arteries, and that will contribute to hypertension and heart disease as a result. And there's just really every symptom and cancers and many chronic health conditions that people have, there's an underlying root cause of a heavy metal or chemical contributing to or outright causing that symptom or disease. That's what I've learned over the last 10 years of researching this stuff. So it can really be so many different types of symptoms, but definitely fatigue and brain fog are probably top on the list.
Yeah, for sure. And so let's talk about electromagnetic frequencies, EMFs. A lot of people are out there talking about them. Most people just have trouble understanding what that really is. So can you break that down and make it easy for people to understand?
Yes, absolutely. So EMFs are simply frequencies that harm our bodies. And
Mm,
because our bodies, we're electrical beings. That's why we can measure our heartbeat on
yeah.
EKGs and look at
Mhm.
MRIs. And, our bodies very much are electrical. We have an energy field around our bodies that our body communicates. That's how our body communicates. And on energy waves, our body does send in, our heart sends information on energy waves and instruction. And so when you have these EMFs, these non-native frequencies that are emitted by the 5G towers, that are emitted by your wireless internet, by your computer, your router, these new 5G satellites, 60 a month or more, are being launched into the atmosphere with the goal of emitting these frequencies onto the earth where they can't erect these 5G towers, like in Africa and South America and all over the world, where it's just not financially feasible to erect all these towers every 10
Yeah.
houses like they do in the US. When you have these pretty harsh frequencies constantly emitted, they're not surprisingly going to cause problems with having heart palpitations, with interfering in your brain waves. Your brain has, alpha, beta, theta waves. Non-native frequencies uh, disable and interfere in the frequencies that your body is emitting and using to operate properly. And so we can see in the research that these EMFs cause infertility, they cause cancers, they cause benign tumors, they cause inability to properly utilize glucose, they interfere in sleep. They reduce melatonin production. Because they're very irritating to the body,
Yeah.
they reduce melatonin production. People don't sleep as well. That's why you have this rash of sleep disorders. And so there's many, many different, symptoms and health issues that are caused by EMFs. But the basic premise as to why is because these non-native frequencies interfere in the body's frequencies.
So the native electromagnetic frequencies have a health benefit to them. Like, for example, there's EMFs that come out of the ground, that come out of, the sand, water, things like that. And those are all healthy and healing. And I believe that's because our ancestors, we were all exposed to these, so we've adapted to them. Whereas all the electromagnetic frequencies are coming out of our computers, our cell phones, all of our electric devices. These things are very new. And as a species, we haven't had time to really adapt. So they're all stressors on us. And, in human health, there's the hormesis theory where small amounts of stress actually cause adaptation and strengthening of the body. But when we're overloaded with stressors, it overwhelms our body. We can't adapt and it causes sickness and disease. And I think that's what we're seeing today is we're just being bombarded by these things. We're literally 24/7 and with no let up. And
Yeah.
that's where a lot of these problems come in. And so you mentioned 5G. Can you talk a little bit more about 5G and what is the problem with that? Because I mean, there's a lot of things going on. A lot of tech people are really excited about 5G and what it offers. But what has it been studied, and how does that compare to 4G and what we're
Yes.
experiencing right now?
Yeah. So, 5G is going to deliver your Netflix to you faster, essentially.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be waiting for a video to download and see the little circle. So it's just, which is really annoys me. And so people want faster internet. And around the world, most people have cell phones in most countries. They don't have computers. So people want to have, to be connected. And so the 5G is going to just deliver these information packets much faster at a much higher frequency. And so it's estimated that the frequencies from 4G or the frequencies from 5G are about 40 times faster or more, kind of this jackhammer type effect on your body. So it's about roughly 40 times, harder on your body. But there's different, 5G just means fifth generation. So you can have different frequencies. So some 5G frequencies are not as bad as 4G frequencies. So it just depends. A 5G tower can have a faster frequency or a slower frequency. So it's not just, you can't just, label 5G is all bad, but it's mostly bad. There's no escaping it. Okay, because Elon Musk with Starlink and, Bill Gates is funding another, 5G video surveillance satellite system. And there's other countries, one called OneWeb, I believe. And so there's going to be about 20,000 5G satellites by the year 2022. That's not very far off. And so that's going to blanket the planet in 5G frequencies. And so people just need to be aware that these are going to cause problems for them. But, just like anything, there's a whole range of frequency intolerance of different humans. Some people cannot tolerate them at all. People that are very, very ill, or some people know they have electro hypersensitivity, but other people are just fine. There's a lot of people, like we're having this conversation, like, I don't feel sick, I feel fine. Well, there's different people have different abilities to tolerate this toxin, just like heavy metals and chemicals. Some people detox them, some people just can't. So you want to keep that in mind. But what we do know is that physiology works the same for everyone. And so these 5G frequencies are going to be affecting you on some level, even though you've habituated to them to a certain degree. And so you really want to be, if you're health conscious, you really want to learn even just a basic amount of information about EMFs and how your body works electrically or bioenergetically, if you will, and take measures to mitigate this, try to reduce the amount of impact of this, these EMFs on your body, and look for sources in your environment to identify them and mitigate them as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you're an expert in this, and you've helped found this Harmony pendant, which I want to come back to and talk about. Before we get into that product, what are just some things that people could be doing on a daily basis to either neutralize, like help reduce the amount of EMFs, or just help their body have more resiliency to be able to handle them?
Yes. Yeah. So one thing that you can do, just very simple things, is, turn off your cell phone if you're not using it, put it in airplane mode or turn it off completely. And don't charge your phone near your head at night. You want your cell phone out of your room. You want electronics out of your room. Many times that you can have different electric appliances in your bedroom, and they're emitting frequencies. And so anything that's plugged in, you can be exposing your body to dirty electricity, so to speak. It depends on how well your house is wired or what kind of wiring you have. Some people have much more dirty electricity being emitted from their wiring and from their electrical outlets than other people. So there's a whole kind of education around that people can have. But you can also buy a tri-field meter. It's a $170 meter. It's not terribly expensive. You can kind of go around your house and look and find sources of EMF that may surprise you. I found a television that was emitting a very high amount of frequencies for like the Bluetooth enabling that I never even really used. And so I was able to turn that feature off on the television. I was filming in this one office environment, and we were looking for a high EMF source for a reason. And we found this backup lighting system was emitting a huge amount of EMF. It was crazy. And it was just a backup system that wasn't even being used. So there's lots of examples like this in your home. The electric smart meter, that can be emitting a massive amount of EMF. So you want to make sure that's not in your bedroom wall where you're sleeping every night. And so you want to move your bedroom if you can to not be in that room. There's little devices you can put on a little electric smart meter that will mitigate that EMF exposure, because that's sending a signal 25 miles. It's pretty strong to send a 25-mile signal. In some cases, it's every few seconds, every 30 seconds. It's sending a pulse out to tell the electric company how much energy you're using. And so that's a big problem, especially if you're in an apartment building where there's just lots of electric meters, lots of wireless internet. So you got to be thinking about if you have like electric pole in your backyard. My old home that I sold used to have a pole with all the electric wires from the whole neighborhood going into my backyard, into the ground where I was walking and sitting. So there's lots of different ways that you can, lots of different things to think about when it comes to looking for EMF in your environment. My solution was selling my home in Los Angeles and moving far into the country and whatnot. But you don't have to go that drastic. But yeah, there's the farther away you get from an EMF exposure, the better. So even just pulling your bed away from the wall, away from the wiring that's inside the walls, that can really help. Not having your cell phone on your body, having it further away from you when it's on can really help. You just want to be away from the EMF exposure. Maybe not having your wireless router in your office where you're sitting and working all day. Definitely not near, I realized at one point when I first, back in the day, I had my wireless internet. Thinking back on it, the wireless router was right next to my child's bedroom where her head was, that's going to interfere in her sleep. So lots of different things to consider. There's wireless routers that turn off when they're not in use, and that turn off automatically at night when they're not in use. But you can also just get a timer so it automatically turns off and turns on at a certain time, so you don't have to fiddle with it. But just, I think that'll give you some ideas of ways that you can, things to think about when it comes to EMF exposure and how to reduce it.
Yeah, for sure. And what are your thoughts on grounding, like going out, getting your bare feet on grass, dirt, sand, things like that on a regular basis?
I think that's great. I think every little bit helps, because that's one thing that EMF does is it changes the polarity in your body.
Yeah.
It causes your body to have this positive charge when you need to have a negative charge to work properly. So very important to do grounding. Today, it's not enough today. Every little bit helps. I want people to swim in the ocean and walk on the beach and go out in nature and all that stuff. Because, for millions of years, we evolved with this electrical component in the ground called Schumann's resonance. So for millions of years, we slept on the ground, we walked on the ground, so our bodies were very much grounded. And that's how our bodies are designed to work. But today, we're very much removed from that. We're not walking on the ground, we're not sleeping on the ground, and we have all these other things causing a positive charge. So one thing I do is I take something called an infoceutical. Mm-hmm. It's a salt water that has information imprinted onto it. It's called Polarity. It's made by Ness Health. And it's I have it for sale in my store.myersdetox.com. So it's just an infoceutical that has information imprinted into it. When you take that, it helps to polarize your body or give it that negative charge. That's one thing that I do. I also drink this water. It's called Wata. And it's in a plastic bottle, but the reason is because it has tons and tons of electrons in it, which will give your body that negative charge. If it was bottled in glass, glass will neutralize electrons. It steals the electrons. So in this case, this is the only time I advise drinking out of plastic, but it just so that it keeps its charge. So it's called Wata, and that's going to give your body tons of electrons, tons of oxygen and hydrogen. It has the fifth phase of water, the gaseous state of water, infused into purified water. So you're not drinking it for the water, it's just a vehicle for the gas. Right. And really important to flood your body with oxygen, because a lot of people have low oxygen environments anyways, but it's great at polarizing your body and giving it that negative charge to counteract the effects of EMF. So this is a very, very powerful tool that I use as well. You can get this on aquanew.com.
That's really interesting. I use hydrogen water with the hydrogen
Mhm.
gas infused as well, which provides those free electrons too. So, yeah, I think that's really great. We got to do things to help buffer the oxidative stress. And like you were saying, I always tell people grounding, getting out, spending 10, 15 minutes with your bare feet on grass, dirt, sand every day. It's kind of like showering your EMF, your electromagnetic field, right? So you're helping clean your system. But like you said, if we're constantly bombarded by this all night while we're sleeping, we really can't heal. And so we've got to do more than just that, although that is, something that we should be trying to implement as much as possible. So that's great. And now, obviously, you created this Harmony pendant too, and I've got one on right here. And I'm really interested in this technology. So can you explain more about this and any studies that I know you were telling me about a study that was just completed. And so we'd love to hear more about those results.
Yes, yes. And I am a partner with the company, but the
Yeah.
actual creator of it, his name is Robert Marking, and
Yeah.
he's been using this for about 15 years with people like UFC fighters and athletes and even champion racehorses and jockeys and all kinds of, he's an athlete himself, so he works with athletes
Hmm.
to improve their performance. But one of the benefits of it is that it helps to protect from EMF. So it helps kind of buffer that stress that EMF causes on the body. And so what it does is essentially when you're activating this pendant, you have a process where you activate it to your body that helps to properly regulate your body's energy field. So we talked about that earlier. Your body has an energy field, and there's a lot of different ways that where you can have energetic blocks in your body and different issues with your body's energy field. There's a lot working against us, a lot of different stressors that impact that and negatively affect it. So when you do this activation process with the pendant, it helps to correctly regulate that energy field. So when your body is hit by EMFs, your body is better able to deal with that stressor. So it's not technically blocking EMFs, it's
Hmm.
just correcting your body's function and regulating it so it's better able to process that stressor and it doesn't have the negative effects that we would normally see when someone's hit, when someone's like that's not wearing a pendant has the effects of those EMF on their body. And so we want to, and we know, I know the pendant works. I've been wearing it for about 3 years and it really transformed my life and my health. And I was under a tremendous amount of stress when I first met Robert Marking and he activated a pendant on me. And immediately I felt this huge stress relief. I started yawning. I started getting tired. I started going into parasympathetic mode
Right.
because I was just so many people today are in this sympathetic dominant
Mm.
stress state because there's so many stressors and EMF, nutritional stress, trauma, and just
Yeah.
stress of life, fast pace. And it really helped me to relax. I slept better. I had more energy. I felt more calm. And so it took Robert a while to convince me, but I eventually wanted to partner with him to get this out to the world. And what we're seeing with the study is that we use a device called an HRV testing. It's heart rate variability, and it's something that's used a measure variable.
Mm.
It's used by studies in Harvard and whatnot, but it's a device, it's Russian technology, where this device will measure your mitochondrial power, your heart rate variability. It will measure your biological age. It'll measure the function and flow of the energy in your meridians. It will measure a lot of different functions, many other variables, your brain waves, your neurological state as well. And what we did was we did a baseline test without the pendant, baseline test, and then we activated the pendant on some. Oh no, sorry, we did the baseline test. Then we exposed someone to a high EMF device, and then we did another test on them and saw all the variables decline. So this huge stressor, body is not regulating very well at all. And then we activated a pendant on them, and then after that we see most people go back to baseline or improve. So it's showing that the pendant is dramatically helping the body to adapt to this stressor and not only go back to baseline, but go higher than baseline where it's functioning better than it was before. So people have more energy, they have their meridians are regulating better, their heart rate variability improves. So their stress levels have come down as a result of it. It's really remarkable. And it was done with 150 different patients with 10 different doctors. And one of the doctors also did a live blood cell analysis where they do before and after live blood cell analysis after activation with the Pendant. And all 9 of the doctors said that all the different modalities that they use machines in their practices for years, some of them, and they said they've never seen a modality that has improved an HRV as much as the Pendant. The doctor using the live blood cell analysis of the same thing, she's never seen improvements like that with any modality in the many years she's been using live blood cell analysis. So I'm really excited to see, like, get the final write-up of the study. We have someone writing it right now.
Well, I think that's really amazing. And it's pretty simple to use. I mean, you basically just wear it, right? That's really all you do. And it's very low cost overall. And so I think that's great. I don't know if you're familiar with the Key technology, but Synergy Science puts that out, and I've promoted that to my audience. And it's a phenomenal, their waveform technology. I have one in my house, which is whole house EMF protection, but it's quite pricey. And so I get a lot of people that are saying, I wish I could get one of those. I can't afford it. This is something you can get, especially with our special offer. It's like less than $100. And so, it's very, very affordable. So it's something that really we need to get out to as many people as possible, especially like you said, 5G is coming, whether we want it or not. So whether you have felt the effects of EMF, which I would say probably around 20 to 25% of the population has definitely felt it. They don't really know. Sometimes they don't know. Some people really definitely know. Like they're like, wow, every time I'm talking on my phone for 5 minutes or more, I have a headache. That's when you know, right? For a lot of people, they don't know. They just feel the fatigue later in the day, and they just don't know cause and effect. And I would, be willing to bet that that's going to go up to 50 to, 65% of the population is going to really feel those effects when 5G fully rolls out. And, when you're feeling that on a daily basis, it's also a sign that you're building disease. And so, long term, obviously, that's going to shorten your lifespan and cause a lot more suffering. So having a simple solution like this that helps your electromagnetic field adapt more effectively to this is going to really give you a leg up. And so it's definitely something that you want to use and get that for your family as well. And so we'll have a link in the show notes that you can get that. We have a special offer with it as well. But really excited about that. And that study is, really exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing, I know we were just talking, and the guy that's writing that up, he's just starting to work on that. So the study's been completed. Now he's writing that up, and hopefully that should be done fairly soon. Once we get it, we'll put it in our show notes for this as well. So Wendy, any last thoughts? You talked about the Harmony Pendant. Any last thoughts on the Harmony Pendant or anything else that we talked about today?
Yes. And so one of the things about the Harmony Pendant is it's not just protecting from EMF. It's not just mitigating the effects of EMF. There's a lot of other benefits with stress reduction,
right,
and with helping people to sleep better. There's lots of different benefits of it. And one thing that I like about it is because I bought a lot of different EMF devices over the years. Like I bought the cell phone sticker, and I have the pad or the Defender Shield under my computer. And I think the Key is fantastic. But what happens when you go outside of your home, this cocoon that you created, this healthy cocoon, or you have to go to work, or you're going to the grocery store, or you're going to all these different places where you're exposed to EMF. I love it because it goes with you 24/7. And also I think like you said, there's a price barrier to some of the home devices out there. But also there's also a learning curve with all of this stuff. Like, what do you buy and what works and what doesn't? There's a lot of garbage out there that doesn't work as claimed when they don't have research to back up what they're saying. And so, but one caveat with the Harmony Pendant, we found that it protects about 50 to 88% the EMF. So it's not 100%. Nothing out there is 100%, but every little bit helps. And so this is an easy thing you can do until you can get around to finding sources in your environment, in your home, and mitigating them, at least you can be doing something to protect your health. Because I study health all day long. It's my passion. But for years I did everything, even though I knew about the dangers of EMF, I did everything except mess with that. It was just kind of like the last thing on my list. And
Right.
that's why I like the Harmony Pendant, because it's something easy and quick you can do. It's a really cool, fashionable jewelry that you
Yeah.
can wear, functional jewelry, until you can get around to dealing with it more. But you still do need to, even if you're wearing this, you still do need to mitigate EMF in your environment, because
Right.
it really has a dramatic impact on your health. And there's lots of different things you can do. Like the Wata is amazing also to counteract it, because it's going to get to the point where you can mitigate it all you want in your home. We're still going to have these 5G satellites raining down on us. So
Mhm.
you've got to think of strategies beyond just mitigating it in your home. But like I said,
Yeah.
every little bit helps.
Yeah, for sure. And so, like you were saying as well, it helps reduce stress in your system. So it helps basically when your body's overwhelmed by stress, you're going to be in fight or flight, and you can't heal when you're in a state of fight or flight.
Exactly.
And so fight or flight's necessary for short-term experiences, like when you're exercising, when you've got to perform, when you're doing something that really depends upon a lot of mental or physical energy. That should be for a short period of time, and the rest of the time you should be in a state of where you're able to heal, and that's your parasympathetic nervous system. So this helps take your body when because you could be just sitting there reading emails, or just sitting there eating your dinner, and be in fight or flight because you're being bombarded by EMFs, because you're thinking thoughts that are causing stress, because you're toxic, a whole number of different factors. And it's going to help push you into that parasympathetic tone where you can heal, you can digest your food more effectively. You're going to be able to have better quality sleep. So, we want things that are going to help move us in that direction. It's just so important in today's society. So,
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, because that's another thing. As I work with thousands of clients, helping them to detox, and that's one of their big roadblocks to getting better is everyone's stuck in sympathetic dominance. They're stuck in this fight or flight stress state, and you have to get people out of that to rest, digest, detox, and heal. But how do you do that? People know they need to meditate, do yoga, do all these different things, but you could, it doesn't change permanently. Like, you have to meditate every day, you have to do yoga every day, you go back to that sympathetic state. And so that's another thing I use the Harmony Pendant for, is very quickly and easily just bring people down a notch. And then I also feel like it potentiates other therapies that I'm doing. Like, the pendant makes it easier for a bioenergetic program or a detox
right.
program or other things that I recommend people do. It just makes those therapies more effective, because I've been able to bring them down and get into their parasympathetic nervous system state where they're resting and whatnot. So there's a lot of different benefits to the pendant beyond just the EMF mitigation.
Yeah, so good. Well, I'm really glad that you're championing this message and getting it out to people. And thanks so much for connecting with me and my team, and letting us know about this, because this is something we definitely want to share with our audience and let them know about, because we've got to do things. Like she was saying, 2022, they're going to have 20,000 satellites all over. It's coming, and we've got to be prepared, or we're going to see a massive amount of human suffering. And everything we can do to help avoid that, reduce that, that's what we're here for. So thanks so much for being on with us, Wendy. And you guys, if you're interested in the Harmony Pendant we talked about, you can check out the show notes. We'll have the links there, so check that out. And guys, remember, you're more valuable than you think you are. So go out and start taking action today. Be blessed, and we'll see you on a future podcast.